Hey, so when last we talked, last chapter, on Thursday, I told a little bit about that I was going to live with my father in North Jersey. Yeah. So a little background on that because that video was getting too long. In the summer of 70, prior to all this happening, when my mom was still carrying my brother, George, my sweet brother George, I was very unstable, I suppose, is the best word because, the last 2 years prior to that, it was like crazy chaos, moving, new people, this, that, the other thing. I was doing my best to adjust and still having like hard times. There were some incidents which I'll put in the book that really, when I look back on now, they're just indicators that I needed some help, and that wasn't there. So you just muddled through and stuffed it down and, packed it along. Some experimenting, as I mentioned, the Rolling Rock beer. Not, I didn't have a lot of access to alcohol as such. Probably if I had more access, I might have used it more. There wasn't, like, I was out in the middle of the country, so there wasn't a lot of that happening. I'm not going to say that that wouldn't have been a choice if I had it, but it just didn't happen. Okay, so enough on that. That was a whole minute. I'm trying to watch the clock now. They got me thinking about time. So, okay. The summer 70, my mom, I guess, was trying to help me in some kind of way, and she made arrangements for me to visit my father. So how's this going to happen? She's surely not going to drive me there. Well, at Fort Dix, it was a very, very busy bus depot because the Vietnam War was still going on. There were soldiers coming and going. There were buses in and out going all over. And most of the buses would go, anywhere. The buses went all over the country, but they did go to New York City. So my mom came up with this plan with my father, I guess my grandmother. I don't think she talked to my father on the phone, that I would take a bus from Fort Dix. They would drive me to Fort Dix, drop me off, and then I would take a bus to Manhattan, and from Manhattan take another bus back into North Jersey. I know it seems kind of clunky. Why don't you just drive? But obviously, for all the indicated reasons, my mother wasn't going to do that. And so, I was pretty mature for that age. And they trusted me. Laugh, laugh. They trusted me to take the bus. And so I took, I got dropped off, and it was the summer. And I went to, this is prior to me moving, okay? So let's keep this because I want to give the backdrop of all the stuff that went into my journal entries. Oh, baby. Anyway, I'm trying to keep it light because this one's pretty intense. So I took the bus to Manhattan and then took a bus, I guess, into Hackensack. Somehow or other, my father met me, or not. I can't remember exactly, but I did get to my grandmom's house in Lodi because that's where my dad lived. I didn't get to go back to Garfield and live there because nobody lived in Garfield. And so I visited with my gram, and it was really nice, but there's a difference between Graham looking at me, and she had me frozen in time as the Shirley Temple, and here I am, this teenager in hip huggers and bell bottoms and long hair. I think I was trying to sport a headband. I was trying to be cool, going through New York. I did have love beads on. And I had a big wide belt on my hip huggers. So, I'm not Shirley Temple anymore, which may be the title, the thumbnail for this. So anyway, we visit a little. My dad's not home. And I just say, well, Graham, do you mind if I try to find some of my friends in Garfield? Now, she's concerned about me walking, and I'm thinking, dude, I just went to New York City. What? No, I can walk to Garfield. It's not that far. It really wasn't that far, especially when you're really wanting to see your friends. So I left the house and I walked to Midland Park. And I was just looking for some of my friends, That's the park I used to ride my bicycles to. And me and Katya used to have our adventures. And so it just was a familiar place. And I thought, it was back in the days of hippie, post-hip. There was a lot of that hanging out. Everybody hung out. So I went to the park and I didn't find any friends. I'm going to pause right there, take a deep breath and say, an incident happened. And I'm not going to reveal that on video. It's just not the place to reveal that. And it was a negative incident, kind of scary, scared for my life at one point. And luckily, I was able to maneuver myself and leave the park and head back to my Graham's house. And got back to Graham's, never said a word. Never said a word. Now, this is one of those incidents where you could go on Oprah. Okay. She doesn't do those kind of shows anymore, but yeah. All right. So that's out of respect for my family, and those who love me would probably cry. So I'm not going to discuss it right here. Needless to say, I got back. My dad came home from work and we ate dinner. And the next morning I made an excuse. I wanted to go back to South Jersey. I guess I thought I wanted to be with my mom because my dad wasn't reliable. Loved him, fun guy. But there's an old song, Call Me Unreliable, you know, and I think it was might have been a Jackie Gleason song. Not sure about that. I'll have to look that up. Anyway, yeah, loved my dad, but couldn't depend on him. So, you know, and my Graham was still trying to put me in the Shirley Temple box. So I wanted to get home, and I made excuses and begged off because I just didn't fit. I didn't fit there. So I wanted to get home. I don't know. And so I got on the bus and headed to Manhattan and took the bus back to Fort Dix. And they picked me up, and I never talked to my mom. I never told her a word because there was tension in the house, and she was annoyed that I came back early, and there was just no opening. We weren't close, you know. And all she kept saying was, "You didn't tell them where we lived. You didn't, you know." It was not a check-in like, "How are you? Why'd you come back?" There was none of that. It was just my presence was annoying to her. So you suck it in and you keep going. So what winds up happening is the rest of the summer, even into the school year, I act out. My mouth is still going. I'm still like, you know, it leaks out. You know, they tell you this in counseling nowadays. Hello, they didn't have them back then for me. Thank God I'm okay now. All right. So anyway, that led up to me wanting to just, you know, hate my mother and hate my dad and hate everybody and put that in the journal. So when she came across it that December, just prior to Christmas, and you know what, dudes, I don't know, maybe because she was curious about me but couldn't ask me face to face, she felt the need to read my journal. But I remember hating the fact that I was betrayed in that fashion. Please, people, do not read your kids' journal unless you think their life is in danger if they're suicidal or something. Maybe she thought that too. I don't know. So I can't, like, rule that out, but it was an invasion. And it, like, if you don't care enough to take care of me here, don't read my shit, man. Okay? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I cussed, but that was kind of how I felt about it. She didn't care about me here. Why are you reading my stuff? It was almost like she was looking for a reason to send me back to my dad. And that's what happened. So Christmas, and I'll wrap this up real fast. It's a little bit long. But so about 2 weeks prior to Christmas, my mom lets my dad come to New Egypt, not to our home, met us in front of the Presbyterian church. And he had a truck. A friend of his, he got paid him, and they had a truck full of toys for Jimmy and Scott and Billy. And my mom was pregnant with George at the time, so this was not going to be a quick turner, like a visit. And so we met. They pulled up, and I didn't know this, but my stepfather was packing a gun at the time because he was afraid of my dad as well, rightfully so, I suppose. But you're afraid of my dad, but you're turning me over to him. Duh. Hello, just go. Get out. Get out. That's it. I'm done with you, Diane. You're just like your father. You look like him and you're just like him. Woo! Boy, if it wasn't screwed up, man, talk about all the schisms and the cuts and, all that stuff, right? Okay, I'm laughing now, but back then, man, it was no freaking joke. All right, hang on. My dad gives my mom all the presents, which she promptly took to Goodwill or Salvation Army or wherever she donated them to. My brothers never even knew that my father cared enough to send presents. I get it. I get my mom was doing this protection, isolation, and partially parental alienation, which is another whole video. Boy, this one's getting long. Sorry, guys. I just can't help it. It's all this big stuff. So, my dad took me to North Jersey. I got in the truck with him and his friend. My mom took the gifts, and she never called to even see if I got there. She didn't call me. I mean, months went by. She didn't, are you okay? Is everything all right? Da-da-da. Holy mackerel. That, I have to look back. No, I don't want to look back. Scared you. I'm good. I'm okay. Had to get this laid down, though. So this is high school number 3 I'm getting ready to go to. Lodi High School. January of 1971.